We're going to start with having Ralph Thomas lead us in a prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this time we can come together and do the county's business. We just thank you for the citizens that are present tonight. All those watching at home, we just ask your blessings upon each of them and our community. Just guide us in everything we say or do. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes?
As far as we address the consent agenda at this point also or not?
Yeah. Anything you want to pull off the consent agenda?
Items 5 and 7.
Okay.
5 and 7.
I'd also like to, I will have an add-on item, legislative priorities, under my item, please.
That's under
my update.
Anything else?
Make a motion to approve with the changes.
A second motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let's move on to the public hearing. Louis?
Yes, Commissioners, this item is for the transmittal of a comprehensive plan amendment to allow for a density exemption for family homestead subdivisions. This item originally came to the board in November of 2012. The board requested that we make a change to allow owners who own less than 20 acres to take advantage of this exemption. Just a couple quick points. This subdivision this subdivision exemption or density exemption is very narrowly tailored. It's for only immediate family members, as is defined in the amendment and defined by Florida statutes. They must homestead the properties. If an owner has less than 20 acres, there's an ownership requirement. You or an immediate family member must have owned the parcel as of November 30th, 1995. This is only an exemption from density requirements. It does not get you out of zoning or any other comprehensive plan requirement. We will be preparing an ordinance at a later date to implement this policy, and it'll include more details. We're recommending that you transmit this item to the state. The Planning Commission did hear this item and recommended that you forward this to the state for transmittal.
We have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve to conduct a public hearing and vote to we vote to transmit the proposed comprehensive plan amendment for the creation of a new policy 1.10 of the future land use element pertaining to family homestead subdivisions. Glad to discuss it.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Just real quick, Lou, when you say you're not exempted from zoning requirements, that means that if you're zoned 1 unit per 5 acres, you can still cut out the acre. Is that correct? Since that's density.
That's right.
Okay, but you can't, if you're zoned homes only, you can't cut out an acre and put a mobile home on it for your kid to live in.
That's correct.
Okay, I wanted to add and bring up something for discussion on all of this. I'm completely for it, but there's also another exemption I would like y'all to consider that's in the land code that's not written in here, but it says that whenever it's pertaining to subdivisions, that it has to have 150-foot right, or has to have 150-foot road frontage, and say if we do this and somebody cuts out 2 acres in the middle of a 20-acre tract of land, and that 2 acres isn't on the roadway frontage, it's going to present a problem. I had it was a surveyor that brought this to my attention that said that we would need to address this either now or come back and address it later, because it will present a problem if the land's being cut out and it doesn't have the 150-foot highway frontage, it is going to present a problem, so.
Tell us what that is.
That's correct. There is a zoning requirement in certain zoning districts pertaining to minimum lot width and frontage requirements. And my recommendation is that we address this in the implementing ordinance and that the policy can go forward. But that is a good item that we could pick up on in the ordinance later on.
That's a good point, because you may have 5 acres cut out in the back of a 20-acre tract and just an easement to it, therefore you wouldn't have the road frontage.
You wouldn't have the road frontage, but it is some exemption I think needs to be put in this, or if it's not, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
She said we'll address it when we go to adopt an ordinance implementing this comprehensive plan amendment. Correct, Louis?
Correct.
That's right. I agree, and I think that's the general direction of the board, and when we draft this ordinance, we will include something addressing that.
Okay. Motion stands.
So, with regard to, let's say, a 2-acre parcel with, if it's in an area that requires 1 acre per residence, it has to be divided in half. If it's in an area that's 1 acre per residence, you couldn't make 3 divisions out of the 2 acres. Is that correct?
We don't have a minimum lot size established yet. That's another item that'll come up in the ordinance. I've heard different ideas from 1 acre to minimum of a half an acre, so it just depends on how we want to craft that ordinance. But right now, it does really get you out of the zoning. My concern with going smaller is that there are septic tank requirements once you get down to half acre, or septic tank limitations. So, but in theory, the way it's written now, it just gets you out of density. So you could have a higher density than the zoning currently allows.
That's what I was getting at, and I thought I didn't hear that from the chairman. I thought that it seemed to be, so that can be addressed and will be addressed in the ordinance, and it's okay to do this in this 2-step fashion, or should the ordinance come forward at the same time that this is coming forward?
Well, before we draft the ordinance, we have to have the comprehensive plan policy in place that allows it to happen. So there will be some details that we can address in the ordinance. So I think doing it the way we're doing it is proper. This item will come back to you for adoption of the comprehensive plan amendment. Hopefully we'll have a draft ready for your approval, or at least for your consideration at that point.
Thank you.
Whenever it comes back for adoption, at what point would we look at the 150 feet?
It'll be at the same, we'll try to have the ordinance done by the time you adopt this comprehensive plan amendment, but it'll probably more likely, we'll just have a draft done at that time.
Okay.
But
We'll have to pass this
Before we
the
can
ordinance legal.
Okay, before we
That's
can move
right.
to the next. Okay, got it.
Is any more discussion? Call for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Looks like we're going to have the product presentation regarding product placement of tobacco by SWAT next. I think they're very excited.
Good afternoon. I'm Shannon Wood.
And I'm Erin Hart, and we are both members of SWAT, Wakulla High School.
We made this video to let you guys know how we feel about the product placement of candy-flavored tobacco, and I hope you like it.
And we'd like to give you insight on how the youth of Wakulla feels about the placement of candy-flavored tobacco products in local stores.
They target children, middle schoolers, and high schoolers in Wakulla County.
Stores in Wakulla County should not be allowed to have these products out in open or readily accessible to anyone under the age of 18.
I think because we're young, they can trick us with candy flavor.
Can you tell the difference?
I don't think stores should sell candy flavored tobacco products.
I don't think children should ever see these products. I don't even think they should be on display.
Other people speak better than mine. So much resistance from behind. I will stop.
Recommendations and candies is very different from the tobacco.
If tobacco is an adult decision, why do they want me to use it?
I don't think my little person should be tempted on how it looks like candy. Yes, it does look like candy.
Don't they look the same to you?
Thousand people in the street.
Candy flavored tobacco target is me. It comes from little brothers and sisters.
At students of Wakulla High School, we find candy flavored tobacco products threatening to our generation and the ones to follow.
We understand that these products are illegal, but please keep them out of sight for your community.
Everybody look what's going down.
Thank you for watching that.
Very good. Thank you. All right, can we get a motion on the consent agenda as modified?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as much as modified.
I second it.
Got a motion second, any discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Item 5, Howard, do you want to address or you want to get David to? Or?
No, I certainly start off, at least to, this item is intended to put reappointing two members on the Industrial Development Authority, and one of those, as I understand it, is begging off. But had that not been the case, I think that we should open these positions up to the resources of the community, and that we may have other people in the community who want to participate and contribute as a board member on the IDC, and I think that we should be noticing them, giving them the opportunity, and having a choice of members. So that's the reason
I agree 100%, and the people that were on this were appointed in '09. None of us were even on the board at that time, so I think it's perfectly appropriate to open it back up. Howard, do you want to make that in the form of a motion?
I will.
Okay, we'll take that as a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'd also just like to say that maybe let's do this with all similar boards when the time is up to replace, to make sure that there's plenty of talent out there, and we need to poll the community, make sure that we know who's willing to serve. I agree.
All for the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7. Howard, I think you wanted...
Yes, thank you. This is a agenda item, request the board to approval to schedule and advertise the public hearings to consider amendments to section 618 of the Wakulla County Land Development Code pertaining to signs. And this is a pretty big step, and I don't know if this has been workshopped or not. I'm not sure that it has, but I think that this impacts, or has the ability to impact a lot of people across the board. And I think that workshops would be helpful on this before we go, and make sure that we have time to do the workshops, address the proposed changes, and then advertise in that order. Things that I went through, and I'm sure all of us have reviewed that. There are some things that at the first reading jumped out at me that I said, well, raises eyebrows. I wonder how much of the community has been involved in this. So that's my preference would be to give time to workshop and then to advertise.
I don't necessarily have an issue with that, and I know what we're trying to avoid is what happened with like the tobacco thing, where we had public hearings, nobody showed up, we adopted a rule, and then all of a sudden people find out about it and it's crisis mode. I don't know how to reach out to affected parties to get them to come to this workshop. Would be my biggest issue. But I think later, Howard, I think you're asking for a workshop later. Do we want to try to schedule something maybe prior to a board meeting, maybe at like 4? And,
Yeah, as long as,
both these issues and
as long as we have time to do the required notification and advertisement, if we're up against the wall on one of them, I think we would be hard pressed to do it. This is requesting to advertise, so this, we could possibly push that date. I would leave that up to staff because they know the requirements as to advertising and what needs to be done.
I don't think this is certainly not a crisis issue, is it? I don't mind vetting it a little more.
It's been brewing for about 2 or 3 years.
I know,
so.
yeah. I know, it's been worked on for a long time, but
If you wanted to have the workshop at 4, that would give us an hour before a regular meeting, and I would be in favor of that. I think that would be a better schedule for workshops than trying to schedule an individual day for each individual workshop. I think, to meet at 4 would be good.
I mean, would it be all right just to, basically it'd be disseminating information, I guess, to affected people. Here's what this ordinance is going to do, and we can talk about it amongst ourselves. I mean, is that all right? Would sound reasonable to you guys?
Yeah, I think you're going to, I wouldn't limit myself to one workshop, as this is a complicated issue.
And I would be agreed to that, just to give all interested parties an opportunity, because I have at least 3 areas that if I was sitting in the audience, I would want to at least clarify or modify.
When could we have one before a board meeting, the next meeting of advertising?
You're asking prior to the board meeting?
Yes.
Lou, is there any?
March.
We had scheduled this for April 1st board meeting, because that's going to the planning commission before then, so it would have to be April 1st or before board meeting.
I mean, we could just put off the whole chain of events, right, and just put everything on hold until we have a workshop about it. Is that, because what we don't want to do is go to the planning commission.
Exactly.
We make a change at the workshop, then it's got to go back to the planning
What
commission.
we'll do is let us come back to you guys next meeting with a date for that. More than likely it'll be, we'll look at the 4th or the 18th of March, one or the other.
Okay, maybe Howard has an item later about another workshop. Maybe we could incorporate that.
Absolutely.
Just to save overtime and staff time.
It is a complicated issue, and I agree about needing to look at it.
Do we want to make a motion then to table this? Would that be appropriate? Heather?
Well, I make a motion to instruct us to move forward with setting up a meeting prior to the...
Motion so made.
Okay.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Unopposed. All right. Next is general business. Request board approval of select citizens at large appointee. I'm going to handle this one.
All right, before you get going there, just want to make an announcement. Patricia Ratliff has withdrawn her application for consideration. I just want to say that before you go further.
As I guess we agreed to, we took everybody's score, added them up. Number 1 applicant is Mr. John Smith. By tallying the scores up and adding them up, do we have a motion to approve him as the appointee?
I make a motion to approve, John.
I second the motion.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Very good. Next item. This item requests board approval for final ownership and acceptance and maintenance of the roadway infrastructure within previously platted subdivision. Since the housing and mortgage crisis started several years ago, Wakulla County Public Works has on many occasions been contacted by property owners and real estate agents regarding the status of their subdivision roads. Many of these subdivisions do not have an established homeowner association or developer owner to properly petition the county for final ownership and acceptance of maintenance of the roadway structure. Since these roads lack a proper maintenance entity, citizens have experienced problems obtaining mortgages for the purchase of homes or lots within these subdivisions. A 2-year warranty period for these roadways attached has long expired. The Public Works Department has completed inspections of the roadway improvements and found them to be in compliance with the construction standards of the Wakulla County Land Development Code. Currently, the roadways in the listed subdivisions do not contain any major deficiencies, and I think you all have the list of roads in front of you. The budgetary impact will be minimal. Initially, at this time, it's about $1,000. We'll have to put it on our road maintenance programs, but they're all paved roads, so in the long term, we'll have to repave those, but for right now, they're in good shape. So. And also, one correction item is the $1,000 will be coming out of the road department gas tax, sales tax, not out of the 1 cent sales tax.
Okay, is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion, we accept.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second, if I could, friendly amendment, as long as the applicant has properly petitioned for acceptance.
I discussed that with the county attorney earlier, and that was one of the things that came up. Sometimes that, I agree, if there's an entity there to petition, absolutely, but if it's something like where Hidden Meadows, for example, there is no homeowner association, there is no developer, different banks own different lots, so I would ask they just do due diligence to try to find the responsible party. If they can't, just proceed. That's what I would ask.
If that's possible, if there is an applicant, I think.
I mean, a homeowner could be an applicant that lives in there, because they're definitely affected if they're trying to refinance their house, for example, and they can't get refinancing to be able to afford to keep their house because it's not a county-maintained road, which they had every expectation it would be. I don't know if that kind of satisfies your concern, or...
Well, I would just say if the developer is still in the picture, or if there's a homeowners association, but
you need to apply.
Without those two, then I mean we really have no other option.
Will you amend your motion, Jerry?
I'll amend it.
Any more discussion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So as far as benefit to the people in those subdivisions, that's clearly understood. What the benefit to the county and the taxpayers of the county at large is another issue. I think it's good that this has been brought before the board because something needs to be done. But we dealt with this extraordinary situation of this housing market collapse and associated bankruptcies that went along with them. But we really need to be careful of what we might be doing by just going ahead and accepting these roads. Some of the subdivisions have 1 or 2 houses built in them. They're intended to have over 100. Those concrete trucks are going to come in there when this market turns around, and it will, and it's showing signs of it doing it right now. But when it does turn around and all that building activity takes place, those roads will be very much damaged. And we will need to pick up that tab. So even though this agenda item says, well, for the moment, there's very little impact that it will have economically on the county, it will have a huge impact on the county once this building takes place. And accepting these subdivisions without providing a revenue stream to take some of that burden off of the county at large, I think we have to look at. And one of the ideas that was mentioned was an impact fee on the houses to be built in those subdivisions. The already existing homes, I think those people have suffered already a good bit. But I'm looking to see if there's any interest in these underdeveloped subdivisions having special impact fee to the houses newly to be built there. to take some of the burden off.
One of the things you're not talking about here is the revenue stream that will be developed when these subdivisions are built out. The number of homes that will be producing revenue, whereas right now we have none. And I think we'll be to the positive side of anything like that.
I do agree, it's not a real cut and dry issue.
Yeah.
But here's the way I kind of look at it, is that when these houses do get built, they'll immediately start paying 1 cent sales tax and gas taxes, which is our source of revenue for paving and repaving. I mean, your point is well taken, though. I understand exactly what you're saying.
And I appreciate there's a difference in philosophy, and I'm willing to understand and accept that also, as Commissioner Moore just mentioned about, and you in a like vein. But that's on one hand. On the other hand, we can provide studies and stuff to show that it really doesn't pay for itself. So, but I just put that out there if there's any interest for the board to develop a revenue stream before we went ahead and accepted. This is a huge undertaking that we're about to do.
Any more discussion?
I would just like to say that an impact fee, I think, would be a barrier if we're going to have it on these specific neighborhoods. And I do understand the cost concern, and we're certainly going to be dealing with that as it comes along. But if we do have that impact fee, and there's other neighborhoods out there neighborhoods that do not have the impact fee, it's going to make people lean toward those neighborhoods that would be a little cheaper to get into, I believe. I think that as it stands now, it's a barrier to selling the home, and so it's slowing the growth, and we know that there's not a big move to build right now, but at some point that'll change, and I think we need to keep that door open so it can grow when the time is right. I think this is something that we need, and as I was going around to many of these subdivisions earlier last year, the one thing I noticed is they weren't maintained, and like you mentioned, there's not a homeowner association to request it being maintained. Many of them are owned by the bank, and this is the proper avenue, I believe.
Well, and one more thing, Howard, I used to justify my decision is that when these things were done back in 05, 06, whenever they were done, they were fully, they had full expectations that they would be county maintained roads. They marketed the lots as such. They were financing contingent upon such, and I'm fine with going ahead with it.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say two more things if I might.
Sure.
If these were substantially built-out subdivisions, I would be on board with you all, okay? And I also just want to reemphasize that I think it was very good for roads and public works to bring this to the board's attention. I'll probably be not supporting it, but I think it needed to be addressed.
What is the revamped policy we adopted on road acceptance for future subdivisions, David?
80% build out.
80% build out. So theoretically, this wouldn't happen again with new subdivisions. They'd have to be 80% built out. That conversation, of course, has been had many times. John Trice?
John Trice, 35 G&K Lane. Y'all talking about these houses and the build out and all that pay for themselves. We done got in trouble with the one on the top of that thing there. Money was loaned, or y'all signed papers for them to build the subdivision over there. The roads was cut in before there was money was supposed to be loaned on that thing. It was never done. The county lost a bundle of money on that thing. So before y'all start loaning money on cutting roads elsewhere and doing roads and building houses and other things where we're going to lose more money, taxpayers' money, we need to think this thing out real good, because every subdivision does not pay for itself. There's one that's sitting over there now that's dead in the water. That's not paying for itself. It was going to be low-income houses, and I think they said it was going to be $140,000. That's not low-income houses in Wakulla County. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All for the motion? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Commissioners, next agenda item, request board direction regarding third-party review of traffic studies. Transportation review fees range from $160 to $6,400 depending on a project's proposed traffic generation. While larger projects require the preparation of detailed traffic studies that are reviewed by outside consultants under contract with Wakulla County. The review fees for these projects start at $800. These larger projects require that an application hire a consultant to prepare the traffic study, which is in turn reviewed by the county's third-party consultant who is paid from the fees collected by the applicant. The board has asked staff to bring back recommendations regarding possible elimination of these third-party reviews. This was a previous board. And in staff's opinion, third-party reviews of traffic studies provide an important verification of compliance with county regulations. These reviews provide a confirmation of compliance that the staff cannot currently provide. Therefore, staff does not recommend the elimination of third-party reviews of the traffic studies.
Let me ask you a question. If we made no action on this item whatsoever, we would stay the way we are today, right, with requiring fees. You had an interesting idea, which I'll give you full credit for. David had suggested that if a development used one of the county's approved engineering firms, that they would not require second, party review, because that firm would be looking out for our best interest to start with, theoretically. And if they wanted to use someone else, they would be subject to it. I really like that idea, because that gives them the option to, look, if you don't want it reviewed, use either this engineering firm, that engineering firm, or that engineering firm. They can still shop around. It's not just one firm. So I'd almost like us to see just let this die the way it is and ask him to come back with something like that. Can we?
I agree with you, Randy, on that. It's really crazy for us to be paying two evaluators to do the same thing. We get one evaluator that we have approved, and that does it. I'm looking here, you're talking about larger projects, those generating 16 or more cars, whatever. That's not a very large project. That could be, I'd like to see that number moved up. You can have the very smallest business you can almost have will have 16 cars coming into it. So
I did ask about that also, Jerry. That 16 is not really spelled out. Is what's the word? Diminutive.
De minimis?
De minimis. The 16 is set by policy, which I think we can fully change that to 20 or whatever. But what do y'all think about just letting this die, let it stay the way it is, and have them come back with
yeah.
It wouldn't just be one firm you could use. Again, it would be, you'd still get to select.
I can support that.
Okay.
I can support it.
So let's have a no motion. All right, great. Next item.
We have to call for a vote, or a motion.
Well, it died for lack of a motion.
Okay.
I just need, only thing we'll probably need is we need a motion to bring that agenda item back.
How would you do that, please?
Sure. Make a motion to bring that agenda item back with the comments incorporated from the board.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more comment? All four? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. The next agenda item, request board approval of the proposed Wakulla County fixed assets policy and approval to purchase the WASP mobile asset tracking system.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, got a motion?
Second the
Got a
motion.
motion, second. Any more discussion? All for the motion? Aye. All right.
You have your WASP, Greg.
It's been pulled. Dr. Kessler?
Great. Okay. Just be with me 1 second. Okay. This agenda item requests the board approval to establish a schedule that will result in a new ordinance dealing with the restrictions relating to the sale of tobacco products in Wakulla County. This item will allow and set forth a date for a workshop to allow input from all interested parties. Some of the background: on November 5th, 2012, the board adopted an ordinance, 12-35, restricting the sale and distribution of flavored tobacco products by only those establishments restricting access to persons 21 years of age or older. And had that ordinance gone into effect on February 1st, 2013, all persons, businesses, and establishments that allowed people under the age of 21 to enter would have been prohibited from selling and permitting to be sold and offering for sale those products. Due to concerns over that ordinance, it was repealed January 22nd during a public hearing, and the board was in agreement that measures to protect our county's youth from tobacco products is a positive goal. So in that light, let me just go down here. There are some attachments to this ordinance that are different ordinances of different counties and municipalities, but this is a path that would propose a workshop to be held on March 7th, 2013, and come before the board April 15th, and public hearing on May 6th. Now, that is open to amendments.
How was that date, Jessica?
So far as that occurs prior or after a board meeting, I have no problem with
It's
it.
already our scheduled workshop day, and we already have another workshop on that day, so it would work.
Dave, what week is that?
It's on a Thursday, and we have a
Budget workshop?
Mhm.
Okay, we gotta have that on that day anyway. So you wanna have it
That
prior
would
to the
work.
budget workshop?
Sure.
How long would you like?
1 hour.
1 hour? Is that all right with everybody?
I'm good with it.
And did Tanya give you these model ordinances, or these?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, is that a motion?
Yes, it is.
Is a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Would y'all mind having the previous workshop we were discussing before, let's line it up on the 7th and just get all 3 workshops taken care of in one
You
shot? On the 7th?
I'm in favor of that. The
Yeah,
more, the more, the
4
more, the more you can
o'clock
lump them
workshop on the
together would be better.
Is that would?
You okay with that?
Howard, are you gonna try to reach out to the sign?
Yeah,
people?
I'll be-
Okay.
I'll be doing that. Just want to make sure on the start time, because
Be 3 o'clock then, right?
Well, we need to see what have you got, if you got a,
well, I know my mornings, let me just check and make sure.
because we have the sign ordinance,
Right.
tobacco,
Tobacco.
and budget.
The budget, all on the same.
Budget starts at 5, correct?
No, I think we were gonna schedule
The
the
budget, it can start at any time, we
Yeah.
just need to know for advertisement purposes.
Okay, so
We
we would have all
were
three.
really hoping to have remember we were talking about having a budget workshop and a priorities workshop all in one, so we were gonna start that at about 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's what was scheduled last.
Yeah, that's what was
So have it
scheduled.
And that was, well, I have a clinic that morning, that's the problem.
We're
with
gonna
that.
be pretty wore out from being sitting up here all day that day.
Yeah.
Howard, is there another time you think we could do this tobacco, maybe
Well-
after this? Second meeting in March, maybe, before the meeting? Is that,
Okay, there's 2 things. One is the meeting that was intended to be starting at 9.
Right,
9 to 4 is what I have.
right, 9 to 4 is what
So
was
it's a
scheduled.
priority setting. Is
Right.
that one?
Right. I can try to change my clinic. It's only a month away, and it might be kind of difficult. I'm sort of stuck, because it's a Thursday clinic, the first Thursday after the first Monday of every month, so that's the way it is right now.
whole day thing?
No, I usually finish that clinic at around 12:30, 1 o'clock.
We can have it all figured out by the time you get here then. Just kidding, just kidding.
No, I got you. I can get back with staff.
We'll still have, you'll still have 3.5, 4 hours. Y'all wanna just wait and start a little later so we can all be here?
Yeah.
I just assume start at 1 o'clock, maybe we'll start after lunch and then have.
We can start at 1 o'clock, that'll be fine.
That's
We'll
fine.
make it work.
Okay,
That
yeah,
better for you,
I can
Howard?
make that work.
That's more better.
All right, let's go back to the tobacco workshop. Would you entertain doing it the second meeting in March, maybe before the meeting? Is that all right with y'all?
That'd be fine with me.
Jessica?
All right.
Howard, would that be all right with
That
you?
would be perfect.
Okay, so we'll
That's the
change your
18th.
dates. We'll change your dates 2 weeks ahead,
I would like to also add that, well, go ahead, we'll finish this and I'll add something else.
Okay, so the proposed workshop now is the 18th of March.
Day of the meeting.
Day of the meeting.
4 o'clock.
Right. And then,
Budget workshop
Commissioner, Chairman, I would suggest that we possibly move that to 3:30. That way we can get a full hour in and we can take just 5-10 minute break.
3:30 is fine.
3:30, that way we,
18th.
runs over a little, we're
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the 18th of 3:30,
To 4:30, or, at, whatever it ends.
For an hour, yeah.
okay. And then we're going to have this come before the board then. That would be April 1st.
That will be the motion to advertise to have a public hearing? Or
Correct.
the actual public hearing?
Correct.
Do you need a motion to wrap all this up into one thing?
Well, and I just want to let you know that, I mean, with the meeting, with the workshop on the 18th, if there are significant changes and stuff, we may be a little bit hard pressed to get something done
But we are moving forward, I think that's the point.
back, because that would mean we'd have to have something for the agenda within a few days, or even the Friday before, actually.
What about the 15th of April?
April 15th?
Yeah, that would be
Sure.
better.
That's fine.
Didn't something bad happen on that day?
Ides of March.
That's 15th of March.
Was that the tax day?
Oh,
Tax man, all right, I knew there was something bad happening. All right, so where are we at now? What day are we at?
So we have March 18th is going to be the workshop before the board.
For the tobacco.
3:30.
3:30.
Correct. And in April, we're going to the 15th when it comes before the board to be advertised.
Whatever, however that works. We're
However
gonna
that works,
proceed
that's
forward.
right.
If some staff who have,
Right. And
The 7th, we're having our board workshop priorities budget meeting. It's starting at 1 o'clock on the 7th of March. And more than likely, we will tentatively schedule, pencil in for 3:30, the sign ordinance on March the 4th, and we'll confirm that. That'll be at 3:30 before the meeting. Okay?
For the board meeting.
For the board
I'm gonna forget this by the time I walk out this door, but do you
That's
need...
the reason Jessica's the important
Everyone's got it.
Everyone has it.
Forgot about Evelyn. Do you need a motion to wrap all this up into
Yes,
one
please.
thing? Howard, you wanna make that motion?
so, as far as the roadmap, we're going to go to, I'm not working on the sign right now.
No. When Howard says roadmap, he means plan forward with the tobacco stuff. Right.
Right. So, we're going, again, March 18th is the workshop. Motion to have a workshop on tobacco ordinance, March 18th,
3:30.
3:30. It, then will come before the board April 15th, if that works,
If it works.
okay? For advertisement, and then whenever the resulting advertisement responding comes back to the board for public hearing.
Would you include in your motion, Howard, to change the start time of the budget workshop to 1 from 9?
Do you want that in the same,
I think the same motion will be fine.
really? Okay.
Consolidation.
Yeah, wrap it all up in one piece of paper.
Okay, and that the budget workshop start at 3:30 on...
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
On the 7th.
Okay.
And then what was the other one we changed?
Changing this, we're going to tentatively bring back to you the sign ordinance for 3:30 on March the 4th.
This workshop. Howard, is that part of your motion?
Yes, it is.
Thank you,
How'd you know
sir. Can I
that?
get a second?
I second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Well,
All right, Heather, no items?
No.
David?
I've got my add-on item here, which is request board approval for the 2013 state and federal legislative priorities. We had asked the board last year, taking some priorities before the board, that was tabled. We're having our, as you know, and the public also, tomorrow, I believe it's at 7 o'clock right here. Our legislative delegation is going to be here. to discuss priorities and also to discuss things with citizens, issues with citizens prior to the legislature coming into full session. Our previous priorities, which had been the same priorities for many years, were expressed here. I'd like to request to change those priorities to U.S. in no particular order, U.S. 319 Crawfordville corridor and major intersection improvements, CIS designation of U.S. 319 in the Crawfordville corridor.
What does that mean?
What?
SIS stand for?
That's the
Intermodal
state intermodal system. Yeah.
Which is tying us to the airport.
That's right, tying us to the airport, and all that is to help push that on through to central office. Countywide sewer and wastewater treatment upgrades and expansions, and then funding of the OBBT trail, final funding, because currently we have 2 legs that are not funded, and we've already requested that funding. And what we'll do is, if you guys approve these, we will have a packet ready tomorrow to pass out to each member, as well as to whichever commissioners show up and the public as well.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All for the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Next item, Dave.
All right, the other item is we have made application to the USDA Rural Development for wastewater treatment plant upgrades. We made application, actually got about 3 months worth of work done in 3 weeks. The way this will work is the loan amount was for $11.4 million. It's for the upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant as well as refinancing of the wastewater treatment plant facility. We will, our eligibility determination will be determined sometime around the 1st of March, and then funding, if we're approved at that point in time, funding will come about 6 months later. Also, we'll know about the potential for the grant match and what portion of the grant match we'll have at that time. And then that'll be at that point in time when that meeting comes about, that'll be a fish or cut bait moment. We've already run the fund out and the model with, according to the grant match that we get, the fund will be secure at this point in time. We couldn't absorb another loan into that fund, but by refining all of it, build a new plant, it can operate if we get a 30 or 40% match. So, but anyway, just wanted to bring y'all up to date. Don't have to vote on anything right now, but we did turn it in, and if we use it, that's great. If we don't, we always have it in our back pocket.
This is going to be a big item, guys.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Big
That's
money.
right. This is correct. A big problem in the county. Big problem. Okay. That's it. That's what I've got for right now.
All right, we'll move on to citizens to be heard. Cal?
Cal Jamison, 411 White Oak Drive. There's 3 of us here from the Historical Society tonight. I had a real upsetting phone call this weekend. Betty Green called me in tears, telling me that a house had been torn down in Medart. I mistakenly thought it was the Tully house that we had been working on, tearing down to recover materials. It turns out that it wasn't. It was another historic house in Medart. It kind of fell through the cracks. We've been working very closely with the county and with the planning department trying to save the houses, and you guys have been really great. But through proper enforcement of building department rules, we lost a house in Medart. Somehow saving the houses and following the rules and keeping everybody abreast of what's going on, it didn't happen. And so I guess we're here tonight to ask you guys to help us address this. We don't want to lose another house. It's my understanding this house was in better shape than most of the houses that we're getting now, and that the cost of demolition was $15,000. It would have cost half of that to move it to the Heritage Village site. So not only did the landowner spend extra money, but we lost a building.
Cal, how did we do that? What are the rules that we operate by?
I don't know what, I'm only getting this third hand, but I understand that the building department condemned the building for whatever reasons, and that it was consequently torn down, and we didn't hear about it.
Well, I interrupt you though, but had they known that, did they know that you would like all old buildings? Now they can't not do what they're supposed to do if they don't know the otherwise.
Right, and it's my understanding, and maybe Betty can speak better to that, but I know that previously we had spoken with the owners, or maybe it was the prior owners, and they wanted us to have the house, but somewhere in there it fell apart. So I'd like to sit down and let Betty and Murray come up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's actually a ship project, too. Federal government paid for it. Oh, I'm sorry, Betty, come on, I'm sorry.
Ms. Green, we don't want to tear anything down like that. I think it'll be our direction to the board, to the building department. If this ever comes up again, I guess the question we ask is, how old's this building? And let us clear it with the, you know.
We realized that part of the error was on our part because we had not previously gone to the board and given, and I talked to Roland Revel, and he said, you know what you need to do? You need to make a list and let us know. And we had not done that. And last week, I drove by, and the house was in splinters.
Yeah.
And I stopped and asked, and they said it was one of those projects, ship project. The person had asked for a weatherization of the house. They said it was too old, they couldn't do that, but they could push it down and have another one built. So I don't know how much truth there is to all that, but it really was very upsetting to a lot of people. So what we want to do, we realize the house is gone, we've lost, but we would like to work with the county and work out a system to where you know what we're trying to do, and when we have something come up, we know who to go to about it. So that's what we're asking for, and we don't want any kind of answer tonight. We just want to let you know that we want to work with you for the future.
David, how can we do that? How can we not?
Let's let David maybe get with Betty and you guys.
Yeah, that's what we just got to have.
Let Murray say something.
Yeah, come on, Murray.
Well, before I say anything, I would like to give you some good news. The old historic Smith Creek School is now at the Heritage Village site. It arrived today in sound condition. We're very proud of that, and we had a lot of help from the county. The planning department worked with us. Other people in the county did, and so it's there. Not open to the public, obviously. We don't have the infrastructure in. We can't open those buildings up for public access yet, but we were able to get that one there, and we didn't lose it.
Are you able to set them on the site where they're going to eventually be?
It's on the site, but it doesn't have the engineered foundation.
Oh, I understand that, but you're getting them to the site.
We don't have to move it again, bottom line. And as to this issue with regard to, and it was a Sparkman house. There was a Tully house, then the McLaughlin house, as you're going north, and then there was a Sparkman house. And I believe they're all built pretty much at the same time. I'm sure the lumber all came out of the same Tully sawmill. Mm-hmm. I went through and looked at your bid specifications that you used for SHIP, and there's some things in it, and this is just a suggestion, but I saw where they got to sign off that they're a drug-free workplace. If there was an affidavit in there that they had to sign off that they had gotten a review by the Historical Society or something of that nature on the bid process, then they would just get a sign-off, and they could go ahead and do whatever they needed to do at that point. But, as Betty said, this one's lost to the ages, and we'll move on. But we really do want to work with you, not only on this issue, but as we try to set these houses down the road. We
Right now, I believe your code addresses commercial development and that kind of thing, and I know you've done some work recently on the historic district, and we do appreciate that. But I think also that, maybe we could learn something from Calhoun County, which has their Pioneer Village, as to how they address the issue of maintaining the historic authenticity of these buildings. If they were on piers, we wanted it to look like they were on piers again. If it required, obviously, we've got to have an engineered foundations. People want to be going in and out of them. But if there are any specific tweaks you might need to make to the code as it relates to a historic district and placing and sitting these buildings in there, we'd like to have that done.
I think that's where you got to...
That's all I really have to say. As Cal said, we'd be glad to work with you any way we can. Just don't want this to happen again. Lose another house.
Thank you, sir. Richard Bickford.
My name is Richard Bickford, and I live at 174 Revel Road. I'm the president of the Farm Homeowners Association. At the last September's meeting, September 2012, the homeowners that were present at the meeting made a motion, and the motion was approved, to put four-way stop signs in at the intersections of Carriage Drive and Ferry Lane, and another one was at the intersection of Carriage Drive and Revel Road. Right after that meeting, I emailed all the commissioners, of which there are only two still on the board, but there's 3 new commissioners since then. But I sent an email to the commissioners asking for the approval to put those stop signs in. And I'm here today solely to it's been 5 months just to ask what the status of that request is.
That's a question. Which phase did you say?
I'm sorry?
Which phase farm?
That's the original farm.
Okay. So it's not the phase 2 that we approved tonight?
Right, no, it's not phase 2. Okay. Phase 2 is one street.
You want to get after the meeting or something? Anybody knows the status? I don't think we bring up setting four-way stops. I certainly wouldn't be in support of it, no offense, but came before a vote.
I might add, one of the reasons they wanted those was for speed control, which...
Exactly what they're not intended for.
Right.
I don't think there is a status, and we don't have an answer for you, I guess. Right. Unless the commissioner's going to bring it back as an agenda item, or staff is there. A homeowner association, and I know we're not supposed to speak back and forth, but a homeowner association can't vote to go put stop signs up in its neighborhood. It's just, they're public roads, and
okay.
We appreciate the thought.
If you do put it on the agenda, just,
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Alfred?
Thank you, Commissioners. Ronald Crum, 1321 Coastal Highway. But before you go through the tobacco hearing again, one of you go in a business and look where the tobacco is located, then try to get a driver's license from a juvenile. Today with the point-of-sale system, when you go up there and you take, I don't use tobacco, but go up there and you take that barcode, and when you hit it with that beeper, it'll shut you down. Borrow a juvenile's driver's license and try to swipe it. It won't take it. I mean, today computers pretty well lock all this stuff out. Go before you have the meeting, just go by and they can no-sell that item. It won't hurt. But and maybe borrow somebody's driver's license and show that it's that part of it needs to be looked at. We had a town hall meeting this week, and I appreciate the commission having interest to look at what went on. And we're looking for jobs in Panacea. And one thing the commissioners that looked at that attended saw that Wakulla County may have a 6% unemployment, but on the coastline with those people, which they were LLCs in the construction area, so they're not in the numbers, and so we're looking at 20%. The building was full, the outer room was full, and these people we never get out. You never see them at meetings, and so we set up that meeting to try to listen to them. The individual we had there in the recycling, he had already told us most likely he was going somewhere else, better offers, whatever. But we wanted to listen to the people. And I'm glad that there were commissioners there that saw the setting and the problems with those people. What we wanted to hear, drug testing they were okay with. Would they want to further their education? They said yes. They were, the times are bad enough. They're looking for hope, and I think we should learn from that issue. What I wanted, the meeting got out of hand, but what I want to do is to hear from them. We have to listen to them to solve the problems in their life. But I talked with Commissioner Moore a little bit today. Franklin County just got another $200,000 grant for oyster relay. Commissioner Moore was in an oyster relay that was different. The oyster relays they're doing today is shelling. A shell, once you plant it, takes over 2 years to grow. What Commissioner Moore saw was the biggest oysters ever harvested in Wakulla County. And I went to Gulf County the other day with the fishermen over there and to talk to them about the restore and what they were going to do. Well, Gulf County does not have the opportunity Wakulla County has, and I showed Commissioner Moore today what we had done in St. Mark's. St. Mark's has a vast amount of resource, never touched. But if we want to put these people to work in this manner, I think we have to bring them in, we have to talk to them, we have to talk about a little education and bring them part of the plan. We can't keep putting money out there. Like this $200,000 they spent in just $2.7 million went over in Franklin County a few days ago. How much made it to the fishermen? I don't know. But I appreciate the effort, and we can work with these people. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Trace.
That thing on the family tobacco, candy tobacco, y'all need to discuss real hard. Probably Fred ain't gonna make that much money on candy flavored tobacco. He's been in business long before it come out, and he's made a lot of money. So it's not gonna hurt his business. He got enough money from the county, he don't never have to sell candy flavored tobacco. Last week, y'all had a speaker here hitting on Howard because he's trying to get the taxes reduced to poor people in Wakulla County. That's why he's not sitting where he's at today, him and Brock. Y'all did a good job. I want to congratulate our new sheriff and our old sheriff about getting that litter control back in the county. I hope they're watching tonight because that's great for Wakulla County. So y'all doing a good job. And candy flavored tobacco is not going to keep one soul in this county in business. Not one. If they go broke just because they can't sell it and make it on candy flavored tobacco, they ain't making it either way. They were selling something else to stay in business. And we all know what I'm talking about. So, thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
You too, John. All right, Ralph, you got any discussion items?
I would just like to maybe throw it out. The approval for the ship that built the home, looking at the other side of it, how does that process work? Did that come, it didn't come before this board, did it come before the prior board to approve, the renovation or demolish of this home?
The actual houses did not come before your board.
We set up the procedure.
That's right, there's a procedure.
And this has been done a lot of times before, by the way. They'll go in there and tear a house down. Most of the times the house they tear down they wouldn't want it anyway. Right? And I don't want to make it too complicated, have another layer of somebody have to sign off, but I think if there was a list of some sort when it came for a demolition permit, they could say every time you get a demolition permit, let's make sure it's not one of these addresses. I don't know, but that's just
that would be out of everything. That's the best way to track it, because then you start infringing on personal rights if you have to put a check mark in there. Is it checked off by the Historical Society? Because then that flies in conflict of what you just passed last week or previous 2 weeks ago, the ordinance that we passed for historical districts.
I'm just wondering more, and I definitely don't want to overcomplicate any regulation we do, but if someone receives $10,000 to $15,000 in SHIP down payment assistance money, it has to come before this board for approval. And now, I'm guessing this is probably $100,000 that was spent on this, 70-some, and we've delegated that. So it seems kind of an inconsistency that we've got these small things coming before us, and this is a very big thing that we just delegated, and I don't know if there's a better way, but it's something that I think is worth looking at.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a problem also. I had a citizen who was working underneath the garbage system that we house, whereby that they were not having to pay for garbage pickup. They received an increase in their Social Security, and that put them into the realm of paying for their garbage, which is probably $200 a year. They live on $1,100 a month for everything. The husband is ill. I guess her gas bill is probably $300 or $400 a month. So, but I wonder, and I talked with David about this today, and I'm talking to the board members now. David mentioned that we didn't want to throw additional burden over to the remaining citizens by putting new people on the system, but in my opinion, this person was off the system. Please excuse me, they were already on the system where they didn't have to pay, and taking them off would not affect that. I just don't want to see anybody who gets an increase in just their Social Security get kicked into the $200.
Commissioner Moore, that's one of the things that Commissioner Harden has got. He wants to bring up in just a little bit that should,
In addition to the same thing.
should fix that, what you're just talking about.
I have a fix for that if you'll...
Yeah, he got a fix for that.
We're talking about it now.
Well,
We can talk about it here, Reggie.
yes, sir. Well, I was going to bring up this same thing because I just feel for our senior citizens that are on a limited income, you know, and they don't have much money to work with. There's a lot of our senior citizens, they live by themselves. All they have is the income that they have, and by the time that they get done paying all the expenses that they have, even saving throughout the year, they're not able to have enough to save up for it. And I brought this to staff today, and one thing that came out was the numbers that initially were put out is like one person being $13,200, and if you have two people, that's $15,050. Well, as it was uncovered today, that those numbers were actually based on the 2011, and they've never been updated to the 2012. If we update and reuse the numbers to 2012, it brings one person to $13,850. Well, that's another $650, and in many of these cases, that extra $100 will make the difference between someone being exempt and not exempt. So one thing that I was hoping to bring before the board tonight, maybe in a motion and a vote, if we could agree on it, would be to upgrade our numbers, to revise our numbers to based on the 2012 status, and to resubmit these numbers to the public, because there's some cases where people may have seen, well, at $13,200 they didn't qualify, but maybe at $13,850 that person would.
Is there any way to identify the ones, I mean, everybody applies, you'll know which ones would have got it with the new levels, right?
Yes.
Pretty easily? We could just notify that. I agree, it should change every year.
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask you is, it's actually the 2013, it's the 2013 income limits is to, because realize staff was working on, based on the last board direction, was on that number. Okay?
2012.
So therefore, to make it, if it flows easier, and you realize every year you guys can change this as need be, but if you could make it to where, currently we'll say, base it upon the current year's
Extremely low
income, and that way every year that's what we're going to be doing. But then in the budget year, you can always change that to another level, but at least we know moving forward we can do it every year, year over year.
5-0 vote to pass. We got a motion, we got a second.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. More discussion? All for the motion? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Hear anything else?
Do we have any nays on that?
No nays.
Okay.
It's great to be in Wakulla.
Wow, about Wakulla, Jerry. Speaking of Miss Arts, I got the email from her asking us to do a letter of support for the Wildflower Federation proposal to develop a smart tablet app based on native wildflowers. You're going to love this. In Florida's Eastern Panhandle. Does anybody have a problem with me signing a letter supporting that?
No.
Grant application? You can sign it if you want to. Okay. Next item is I wanted to bring up this septic tank inspection thing again. And the reason I want to bring it back up is because the last Regional Planning Council meeting, we got a little bit of, I wouldn't say pushback, but a little concern from the City of Tallahassee and Leon County people. They're spending millions of dollars, and we should maybe be making a little bit more effort on our side to be helping the springs. And I just want you all to think about this. We talked about we didn't want to do the countywide septic tank inspection. I still don't want to do that, but I'd like to try to design some sort of targeted inspection based on this area, which is the Wakulla Springs watershed, not the larger spring shed. There's 1,100 septic tanks in Wakulla County in that area. I'd like to come back with an agenda item focusing on, of those 1,100s, the ones that are maybe older than, just arbitrarily saying like 1975. I talked to Pat Juarez today. There's a date in the code when the health department says you have to use this kind of septic tank to this structural standard. You can't just use block or wood or whatever. And whatever that date is, work back with it. Now, here's the hard part, is that this is going to cost a little money. I would like, personally, what I would like to do, we may be talking about 200 systems that meet that criteria. Offer to do a free pump out and inspection report on those particular old systems, and if they're fine, then they're fine, and not charge the citizen to do that. But if they are failing, the failing systems are worse than 20 septic tanks if they're just putting raw sewage in the ground. And if they were failing, possibly come up with some way to subsidize to repair them, not to bring them up to any new standard, but if it's for an elderly person living on Social Security, it may be in the best interest of the citizens of our county if we spent $1,500 to fix their drain field or put a real tank in there. But anyway, y'all just think about that.
Well, I'd like to say a couple of things about it. First of all, Wakulla, there's sort of like 8,000 septic tanks in Leon. Wakulla has probably 1,000. It's an 8-to-1 ratio. Of the nitrogen that goes into Wakulla Springs, Wakulla County contributes 0.76 of 1% of that nitrogen. If we find a septic tank that's within this area that's polluting, or if our plumbers go to a call, then I would say basically then we would step in and help those people who are in the poverty level who need help. But I just want to stay away from a blanket charge of 200 people.
That's exactly what I just said. I only want to target the ones that could just something to discuss. I'm going to bring it back later. But the only households to me that are even worried about it is one time, you have a 1930 house. We'll pay to have somebody, a septic person, go look at it, tell you if it's okay. And
that's not
we could spend a few $1,000s and get a lot of benefit out of it.
How many tanks do you think there would be?
I have no idea. I talked to the property appraiser's office, and they're pretty confident that they can. They talked to Brad. Talked to the property appraiser's office. They're pretty confident they could glean that information out of their database just based on the age of the structure.
We only have 1,000, and let's say prior to 1975, they may only be
maybe 50.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So
I don't know. All those subdivisions up there around Wakulla Station were never built back in then. But anyway, just think about it.
But if you're talking, what, $250 for a pump out inspection?
And we're coming up to
100,
budget.
we're
coming up to our
$25,000.
Well, we're coming up to our budget times. In our budget hearings, maybe we could say we'll allocate $5,000 for this. Once that $5,000 is gone, it's gone. You don't just keep proceeding, but
Well, if you go out there checking these, and it's
Voluntary. If they want, just say, the county, this is just my thought, county, if you want the county to come check your septic tank, if you live in this area, and if blah, 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 is a certain age, if you want it, if you don't, then we'll stay off your property. If you would like it checked, then we'll just see if it's, you know.
Well, if you find out it's bad, all of a sudden we have the responsibility. What we don't know, what we don't know is not going to hurt us exactly.
That's the downside.
It's not the best thing, but if we find this, if we go out here and inspecting these things and we find one, and the people cannot afford to repair it,
Or don't want to repair it.
or don't want it, but something then has to happen, and we've just kicked over a can of worms.
That's a very, 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 very good point. And I don't know if the people, again, what I'm proposing will be completely voluntary, so they wouldn't have, they would have to want you to come out there and look at it in the first place. Maybe we could put some sort of thing saying,
I've been involved in 500 septic tanks through the years, and sooner or later, that septic, the tree roots or whatever will get in that septic tank, and the people will have to call a plumber. My feeling is that when a plumber goes out and finds a septic tank that's not working, then at that point in time, something has to be done.
I agree. But anyway, I'll probably bring something back then. I don't know if there's any, if y'all don't want to hear about it, I'll drop it right here. You'll never hear about it again.
I just need a lot more details to see, you know, what we estimate it's going to cost and where it's going to be and how we're going to pay for it. We keep hearing over and over again, cut spending, and this would expand spending, and
That's right.
yeah.
That will be toughy about it.
And if there's some other mechanism, you know, I don't know, can SHIP funds be used for that? Can some other?
Well, we can look for grant funding as well as, you know, if and when the Restore Act gets here. I was talking to Commissioner Merritt about that. Is possibility if we put together a program to have that as a program to submit to the federal government, you know, for
And if that's the route to proceed, that's fine
yeah,
too.
I think that's a good idea.
We pull together because that's definitely environmental and that would help out a lot of folks.
And I had talked to David today about the septic tanks along the coast that, you
And
know.
if somehow, well, the problem is there's going to be stuff stacked up for wanting to restore money, but if it was done as a Pot B or Pot C project or whatever, then you could really help the people out and put them a good, you know, septic system there. But anyway.
Well, and we were just approved a $750,000 CDBG grant. Can this be worked into that?
No.
No?
Let me just do a little checking and see what real numbers we're talking about. Maybe we're talking about 5 septic tanks. That's a lot different than 500.
Now, it's something that CDBG could possibly approve in the future. The problem is you got to set the program. We'd have to check on that, but it can't during this cycle.
Well, I know
it's specifically earmarked for that, and that's what it's got to go for.
it addressed inadequate housing, and so I mean, if we've got a problem with a septic tank, wouldn't that be?
We don't know if they have a problem.
We don't know if they have a problem. That's the problem.
Somebody has to do something about it.
Right.
Just remember one thing, Wakulla is only contributing 0.76% of 1%, not 1%, but 3/4 of 1%. So I don't know how much that affects. I think the birds out in the Gulf are contributing more than that.
We'll also check with other counties in the consortium to see if there's any talk of having some type of regional system like this, because other counties have the same problem. That they don't naturally go into Wakulla Springs, but they have their concerns in their county. We'll see if there's any energy from a regional basis to which would fall in the pots that you're talking about, and or we can look at it, and if we can get that information about how many houses we're talking about there, then we can wrap our arms around some type of cost that it could possibly be, and then turn it into a program if need be.
And ideally, when Leon County spends their $37 million, I think they're going to spend to expand sewer into Woodville. We could partner with them maybe, and
In fact, on the 7th, we're going to discuss that with them.
maybe it'd be much better to put them on sewer.
Right.
All right, one more thing. I was contacted by a gentleman about airboats, believe it or not. Back in the early 90s, there were some pretty hard restrictions put on airboats, I think mainly because of unfair advantage for catching mullet. For example, you can't use an airboat on Sunday according to our code. can't use an airboat within a mile of a house, and you can't use it anytime between sunset and sunrise. It has several things in here about equipment muffling, which apparently the state statute covers right now. Other than that, there's really... Y'all amenable to bringing that back to change it? Or at least talk about it?
I think there was more than just,
Here's the entire...
yeah, but I'm talking about from
reason
the...
why?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, that's a big can of worms also. But if you'd be willing to look at it.
If you wanted to bring it up for, I'd be willing to go with you to...
I would think you got to be careful if you live on a river.
Yep, David said that exact same thing.
David's trying to sleep on Saturdays and Sundays, and I go blasting up the river,
And
I wake everything up.
I don't have an airboat. I don't think I even know anybody that has an airboat, but he had called me about it, and I said, at least talk about it. I don't know if a mile from a household is a reasonable number. I don't think anybody wants airboats running up and down the river on the weekend, but...
So does this ordinance address just a noise ordinance, or is it pertaining mullet fishing?
No, it says operation restriction. Can't use it on a Sunday. You can't use it at night, basically. And then the other part is a sound, which the state statutes apparently cover that now. That's the two things.
Right, so...
No, sir. Anyway, maybe I'll just bring it up again for discussion. Like I said, it's not a near and dear issue to my heart. Richard, you got anything?
Well, the thing that I wanted to bring up tonight that I had on there, this is a growing concern that I'm hearing from both commercial and recreational fishermen, is for several of our boat ramps are damaging or consistently damaging trailers. And I know we're in the process of trying to address one or two of them, but we've got several boat ramps that are consistently damaging, and I know we charge $5 for the boat ramp fee. Well, what's going to happen now is the thing that I'm understanding is a lot of these people, because they have paid the $5 launch fee, and then they subsequently damage their trailer on our boat ramp. There are several people that are right now preparing to bring their bills to the county, and this is going to be an ongoing thing. And I'm just wondering about the liability we have on our end of charging the $5 for basically our property is damaging someone else's property, and this is a very growing concern, and we're going.
We'll have to take those on one at a time, but the problem that you have is our facilities are in such bad repair because we haven't spent any money in the past to maintain our facilities, and the purpose of instituting this fee was to generate money from users, a user fee, to be able to generate funds to upgrade our facilities. And currently we have, hopefully this week or next, we'll be replacing the Levy Bay boat ramp. That'll be replaced. We've already done numerous work out of that same fund that we did this. We're also replacing the Ocklackney River channel markers. We're replacing those channel markers. We've got we're doing more work at more of our boat ramps than we've ever done in the past. A lot of the work you can't see right now, but we've upgraded parking facilities, put rock where people were getting stuck. We're doing things, we're spending money, and that's what we promised out of this whole thing. It's not 100%, but end of the day, everything takes money. And we have got to get better at our collections. But we promised, and we've made dedicated, and we're doing it. We're spending money out of that fund specifically for these boat ramps, and we're going to get there. Yeah. We're going to get there, but realize we started from goose egg.
Right. I just wanted to just relay this to us. I think the boat ramp at Mash Island Park is another one that they say is really damaging.
Well, we've done some corrective measures, as well as we've marked it. The stop signs as to far you can't take your boat, and if they take it past that point, that's your own fault. That's not mine. I put boats in all the time, and I don't put it past the stop sign. If you do it, that's just your fault.
Yeah, I was, Richard, and to the public also, they want to know where the money is and how much. I'm told, David told me that we had collected 27,000 plus on these fees that we have charged. Is that not correct?
That's in mass, but we're tracking those fees, that's right.
But it is in a separate account that's used exclusively for this, and basically one of the things you just said is I used to put in at the Mashy Sand, and it was not marked, and I put in there the other day, and it was marked, and as long as we need to definitely mark. I asked for the one out at the lighthouse to be marked, and I haven't been back out there, but
that one is we're going to be marking it as well as replacing it.
But if you'll keep those...
well, at the Levy Bay, I'm sorry, Levy Bay. That's the Lighthouse's refuge. Yeah. That's
well, I hadn't been back out there, but it was not marked.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking, one time you were saying the lighthouse, you want to replace the bathroom at Levy Bay with the lighthouse, so.
I do want to talk about that bathroom on Levy Bay. That's an eyesore.
And I guess the only other thing I'd like to say is as we're moving forward, I think it would be a good policy to try to schedule any workshops that we have on a day we're already having a meeting, or lump several workshops together.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to go back and at least give my 2 cents on the issue of the septic tanks that you brought up. I think it's worthwhile to look at. It's even if it is a small percentage, as Commissioner Moore says, if we can be doing better, and if there are failing septics here, and especially if it's a voluntary thing, then that person is asking for that inspection. I think it's worthwhile looking at. And I also agree with Commissioner Thomas that we need to know how many septics are out there. If there are 200 out there and there's 300 a pop, that's $60,000. So both of those are important issues, but I like going in that direction. I like clean water. I think we all do. The other thing is, and we've gone ahead and set some meetings, but one of the things, most of our, I'm going to bring up 2 more things. Just most of our people here commute. They work up in Tallahassee or someplace else. It's hard for a lot of people to get here for a 5 o'clock meeting. And I just ask the board to just consider possibly the potential of moving those meetings somewhat later to give people an opportunity to get back to the community. The other issue is, just for mention's sake, I grew up in Freeport, Long Island. It's a coastal community. I don't know what it was when I was growing up there, but now it's about 30,000 people. It's always been, always has been, probably always will be, a full volunteer fire department. Most of the people don't work in Freeport. The Long Island Railroad stops there, takes them to all different places. Buses stop there. But in an effort to look at how we're spending our money, originally the idea I thought was to have help in the volunteer fire department when we most needed it, which was daytime, because most of our people were out. I'm afraid that if we keep on going in the direction we're going, we're going to be looking at full-time, full shifts, and our volunteers are going to get less and less. I'd like to see us thinking about how we can get the volunteers energized again and possibly use our paid firefighters principally for the daytime. I just throw it out there.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All 4, aye. No opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The record,
I about 5 departments.
the record.